So, I believe it's 7 o'clock. So let me call the meeting to order for the August meeting of the Batavia Township Board. And would you join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And let's have the clerk call the roll.
Agenda, please.
Walter Donnet,
Present.
Tom Sharp,
Here.
Troy Tusani,
Here.
John West,
Here.
Lee Tracy.
Present. And we'll also, the minutes will also show that we have our VATV videographer, Hartford here tonight, and also our township attorney, Van Larson. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes for the July 12th meeting. You have minutes in front of you, and let me just add that we've made all of the corrections that people at various points suggested to the last meeting. But if you want to review those, and if there are any further additions or corrections, and if not, then I would entertain a motion to approve the minutes from the July 12th Batavia Township Board meeting.
I make a motion to approve the minutes from the July 12th meeting.
Good. Moved by West. Seconded by Donnet. Any other discussion? If not, let's have the clerk call the roll on the approval of the minutes.
West,
Yes.
Donnet,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Tusana.
Yes.
You want to abstain, Lee, since you weren't here?
Sure, I'll abstain. You're telling me to abstain, so I'll abstain. I always pay attention to the clerk. So the minutes have been approved by all of the trustees and the next item on the agenda is the approval of the bills to be paid in August. And prior to do that, let me just comment briefly. You also have the bank statements for July. And let me just outline a couple things. That the general fund as of July 31st has a balance of $656,638.04. There was property tax deposited during the month of $13,381.42, and personal property replacement tax deposit of $7,956. There will be additional deposits of property tax on August 8th to September 7th, October 5th, and October 26th. So there's still more property tax to come in. The town budget is in the amount of $903,000, and the mental health budget of $417,713 for a total projected expenditure during this fiscal year of $713. So my point is that given the size of the checking account currently and expected property tax budgets, I think will be in fine shape. The same thing can be said, I think, with the road and bridge fund and general assistance. The general assistance checking account shows, as of July 31st, shows a balance of $24,145.33. That's greater than the entire general assistance budget for the fiscal year. That's just by way of background.
And has yet to have the taxes deposited into that fund?
Right. Well, there are no taxes deposited into general assistance. The taxes are deposited only into the general fund and the road and bridge fund. So the general assistance has to depend upon those taxes that are deposited into the general fund. There are no taxes deposited. Into the general assistance checking account.
Put a different way, $24,000 is the balance before any funds for this year are utilized, correct?
No. Well, yes, right.
So-
That's true.
So what was budgeted for general assistance
What was budgeted for
necessarily
general
go.
assistance is 21,000, there's currently 24,000 in the checking account.
So 21,000 that was levied to pay that budget is now free money, so to speak? Unallocated.
No, all I'm saying is there's enough money in the checking account to pay all of the expenses of the general assistance budget for the year. That's really what I'm saying. That makes sense. There's all kinds of new ways of presenting the bills for payment. So you have a sheet called Township of Batavia Bill Payment List, August 19th meeting. What this shows is checks that have already been issued. Okay?
You guys got that? I don't.
Yeah, there's a sheet.
This one?
There's a sheet called Township of Batavia Bill Payment List, August 19th meeting.
That's the road.
It looks
Okay,
like
so,
what
so,
Lee has.
yeah, to summarize, there has already been checks issued under the general fund, the assessor's fund, $148.27, and checks have already been issued for $110,381. Most of those being checks to the social service agencies, which, were approved in the budget, but the checks that all of the all of the payments to the social service agencies have been issued. Checks have been sent out. All right, so there's also a sheet called Road and Bridge Payments checked since last meeting, which amount to $484.45. There's also a report that shows general fund and general assistance fund unpaid bills. These are bills that have not been paid and will be paid following this meeting for a total of $148,631.97. The most significant ones being a $7,000 plus payment for health insurance for this month and an outgoing payment, one of 3 that we're going to make for mental health. And so we're going to pay out the entire levy to mental health in 3 installments. And so that's the $148,631.97. In addition, we have an invoice from Aurora Township for expenses related to general assistance of $1,432. Okay, so are you with me so far? That's the general fund payments.
How
Then-
come we get up to $1,400? I thought it was $50, $75 a case.
Well, yes, I know, but there's also a benefit paid. So, for example, I believe that invoice, which is in the folder, shows a well, I should tell you in a minute. Yeah, where is it? The invoice is in there, and but it shows there are 2 cases that have been processed for general assistance. Those are $70 for the first month and $50 for the second month. One of them is gone on for 2 months, and 2 payments have gone out. So in other words, what is owed is on an invoice in the bills for payment to Aurora Township for 2 general assistance cases, 2 for 1 month, 1 for 2 months, and 1 that was denied, and 1 in which they have made 2 payments for 2 months. So the total that we owe is the cost of administering it for 1 month and for 2 months for 2 cases. 1 case is the live one, and the amounts that have been paid out.
Didn't we have a cap on how much we were gonna give in general assistance of $750?
No. No, not in general, no. The caps, there's another sheet which summarizes the general assistance payments, which is, that's the general assistance. There's one page that has emergency assistance, the other side of it is, well, no, the other is payment levels for general assistance. The maximum amount is $816 a month.
But those two payments to that one individual exceed that.
No, yes, but that's a month, there's 2 months. There's 2 months. There's an amount paid for the first month, and then it was increased for the second month.
So it's $816 per month? is
No,
what we can say?
no, the maximum that can be paid in benefits is $816. I believe, according to the invoice, that there was $400 and some paid in 1 month in July, and maybe $816 paid in August.
For next 12, that exceeds 816.
But these are monthly payments.
I was asked if it was a monthly payment, you said no.
Yes, it is a monthly payment.
$816 per month.
$816 per month is the maximum general assistance payment.
And that can be made every month.
Yes.
So
So
the
long as-
amount that was paid to these individuals is part of this bill also?
Yes.
And that's what boosted it up, because it's including those?
Yes.
So where it says emergency assistance is provided only once in a 12-month period, emergency assistance is different than rental assistance?
Yes. And there are no emergency assistance payments made in the current period. I'll get to that, but I have reinstated emergency assistance. Okay? So, any other questions about any of these? All right, there are two things on unpaid bills for general fund and general assistance. There's a summary of unpaid bills for the road and bridge fund.
Did you
So,
guys get that?
there is a summary. There are assessors fund bills paid and mailed of $148.27. There are general fund bills paid and mailed of $110,000 plus. Most of those are social service agencies. There are road and bridge bills paid and mailed, and there are general fund bills to be paid after this meeting. General assistance funds to be paid after this meeting, that's the payment to Aurora Township. And road and bridge funds to be paid after this meeting. So there's a summary which looks like this. I'm not so sure I like this format,
What's this one?
but
Here,
Right.
which is,
you have one?
there are bills to be paid in August in the amount of $148.27, which have already been paid. In the assessor's fund, there's an amount of $110,381.05 that's already been paid in the general fund, $108,000 is a social service agency. There is $484.45 that's already been paid out of the road and bridge fund. There's $148,631.97 is to be paid after this meeting out of the general fund. Most of that is to the mental health payout and health insurance. So at any rate, that summary sheet is,
So this is gonna be like a cover letter.
Yeah.
Each one of these is gonna be in detail
Yeah.
for each account.
yeah.
Right.
So-
These some bills have already been paid and mailed that we haven't approved?
Yes, because you've either already approved them, like to social service agencies, or because, which is another point in the agenda, or they are bills that were paid in order to avoid late payment charges.
the unlikely event that one of these bills is not approved, what happens then?
Then we won't pay it.
But it's already paid and mailed.
Well, then we'll figure out what to do.
And that was to avoid late charges, you said. We were just kind of getting behind in our bookwork or what?
No, it's a question of when bills come in. If a bill comes in and the payment is due prior to the meeting,
Yeah.
then why not pay it? There's another point in the agenda where I'm gonna ask you to authorize those.
I could see that. You see what you're saying?
Yeah, and you've already approved payments to the social service agencies. You've already approved the payments to mental health in the budget. And there's really, we really don't have any alternative but to pay the health insurance. At any rate. What I'd like to do is to have, just to streamline this, is to have 3 motions. One motion is to pay the general fund bills in the amount of $148.27, $110,381.05. Bills to be paid after this meeting of $148,631.97. Those 3 things together. So in other words, what we're talking about is a total of $148.27, $110,381.05, and $148,631.97. Those 3 amounts, which you can add it up if you want to, but I can do it. These are the general fund bills that need to be paid out of the general fund.
I'll make a motion to authorize payment of general fund bills.
I'll second it.
Okay, we have a motion and a second. Any discussion? If not, then let's have the clerk call the roll on that motion.
West,
Yes.
Donnet,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Tusana,
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes. Then let's have a motion to pay road and bridge funds bills. That is a total of $484.45
Oh, I'm sorry. What was it?
plus
Oh, okay.
$39,504.79.
So move.
Second?
Any discussion? Clerk call the roll.
West,
Yes.
Donnet,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Tusana,
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes. Then I'd like to have a motion to pay the general assistance bills, which amount to $1,432.
So moved.
Second.
Any,
Any second, I'm sorry.
West, I believe.
Okay.
Any other discussion? If not, then let's have the clerk call the roll on that motion.
Donnet,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Tusana,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes. Thank you. What we'll try to do is to streamline this process. What this results in is trying to pull information from the new online QuickBooks thing, which is where do these reports come from. Hopefully we'll be able to make this more streamlined in the future. All right. So the next item on the agenda is the assessor's report. The assessor and the deputy assessor are in Quincy currently for conference or training. All I can report is that they've been busy fielding questions from township residents on their assessments. And we just encourage people to continue to contact the assessor's office to answer their questions. And Chris is not here, it's for a road commissioner's report. I can report that, a couple things I know about. You know, if you look at the bills we paid, there was a big slurry project. And then they also was a big project on Nelson Lake Road where they closed it down one day this week to replace culverts. And other than that, I think that they are busy collecting you know, or what, you know, what's it they collect on a week? Brush on a weekly basis. And they're busy mowing, I believe. That being said, our next item on the agenda is public participation, and we don't have any public, so I don't think we have any public participation. So could we skip to old business items? First item on that is amendments to the intergovernmental agreement with Aurora Township. Let me explain. You passed the agreement. That agreement included a section on liability insurance, requesting certificates of insurance from TORMA. When I talked to TORMA, they said, really this is unnecessary since both Aurora Township and Batavia Township are both members of TORMA. So they suggested language, and we've inserted new language, and I don't know whether Van has further comments or not, but what I'm gonna, you have the actual agreement and the new language for this. The new language would say, to the extent allowable by law, each township shall indemnify and hold harmless the other against any and all claims, demands, and causes of action arising out of or connected with this agreement. This will include any costs, expenses, fees, fines, or damages resulting therefrom, including all court costs, fees, and reasonable attorney fees. So it doesn't talk about certificates of insurance. So what I'd like to do is to amend the intergovernmental agreement with Aurora Township with regard to general assistance by inserting that language in place of the original language.
Okay, so if you do that, and if there is a claim,
Yeah,
who pays it?
Torma. Because they're gonna defend, you know, either, both townships, since we're both members and insured. I don't know, Van, does that make sense?
Well, Torma, you know, Batavia Township or Aurora Township, who knows what they're gonna do? They can change insurance and, you know, then somebody's left holding the bag without Torma, so that's a problem as I saw it. In fact, also Torma is not a party to this agreement, and nothing in this agreement would bind Torma one way or the other. It's the township.
But wouldn't their membership in Torma bind them to whatever the limits of insurance they have with regard to each township?
Well, whatever your insurance, Batavia, and whatever Aurora has, certain limits and exclusions for sure. But aside from that, if, for whatever reason, if in the future, while this agreement is in effect, what if somebody doesn't pay Torma, and Torma bails out? What if there's a, you know, it's called privity of contract.
Yep.
There is no privity of contract between Aurora and Batavia and Torma. It's Batavia and Torma, and Aurora and Torma. So Batavia's got to have recourse against Aurora. Aurora simultaneously would have recourse against Batavia. And if Torma's going to pay it, they can pay it and fight over who's going to pay out of whose policy.
So do we want to have different language?
Well, it seems to me like it would make sense
Yeah.
to say if it's their fault, they pay, and if it's our fault, we pay. Rather than just we indemnify them, we can be indemnifying them against their own negligence and vice versa.
Each township shall indemnify. No.
Arising out of or connected with their conduct pursuant to. this agreement maybe?
Well, do we want to consider this further? I'm not.
Let's flip it back to Van. And let us lawyerize it.
Question, Walt?
What I think ought to happen is that we ought to say in legalese that if it's our fault, then we indemnify them, and if it's their fault, they indemnify us. But we don't just indemnify them generally, because we could be indemnifying them against what's their fault, what they created, and they could be indemnifying us against what's our fault.
Well, the issue then, I think ultimately what the problem with that would be is if there is some lack of ordinary care or breach of whatever rules there are for general assistance, that's going to be something that it will be determined, I would suppose, between the adjuster or an adjuster for the insurance company, Torma. And they're going to figure out, well, it's going to be 60% from Batavia, 40% from Aurora, or whatever it is. And a claim.
Yeah, but our adjuster is not gonna be volunteering to pay their 60%, nor will they be volunteering to pay our 40%,
Well,
right?
who knows? I mean, I don't know. The language that I suggested there is basically designed to get around the privity of contract problem. It certainly can be tweaked if you want to say, I'm not sure who the ultimate arbiter will be as to whose breach of some duty is, if some claim on the comes. I think would normally be negotiated between the internals of the insurance company as far as who would be knocked up for how much.
So are you suggesting rewrite this a little bit?
I'm suggesting what should we do?
So-
Since there seems to be questions about how the language is written.
So right now, the general liability insurance is with Torma, correct?
Both Batavia Township and Aurora Township, their insurance is with Torma.
Torma.
Well,
Has this been run by Torma?
no,
Paragraph?
no. When I went to Torma, I said, I need certificate of insurance. They said it's not necessary. We suggest the following language.
Was this what they suggested?
Yep.
They suggested that, I suppose that should be all they wrote.
Well, do we want to?
To me, it leaves that hanging chad, but they probably are much more aware of that situation than I.
Well, what do you want
When you
to
get
do?
right down to it, look at, basically, Batavia Township is delegating its responsibility to Aurora Township. So if there's gonna be a screw-up somewhere that could result in a claim, it would seem to me logically that under this circumstance where we're paying a fee for them to do the work, if they screw up doing the work, it's gonna be against them. I mean, that's my thought.
Yeah, I think it was.
That's what I think.
so too.
But by this, we're indemnifying them against that.
So bottom line is, we don't like this language, but we need other language then. So, we wanna just table this?
I would say, yeah, change the language, let's table it for now, and,
Yeah.
yeah, that's true.
Who's
How is
do
it
the
gonna get
language?
done?
How about I just suggest this? Add after connected with the words said township's actions pursuant to, and then continue on with this agreement so that it will then read, to the extent allowable by law, each township shall indemnify and hold harmless and other against any and all claims, demands, and causes of action arising out of or connected with said township's actions pursuant to this agreement.
Sounds good.
I don't know if that changes it. How does that change it though? Because you want, if there's a screw up by Aurora, that we are not held liable for it.
Right.
That's what you want to say.
Right.
And vice versa. But because, as Van says, we're hiring them, it's more likely them. They're on contract to do this for us. The action of whatever they do is on them, of how they accompany that. So adding those words is that they're still indemnified, right? It's okay if you screw up. We'll take care of it, kind of thing. That's what that means, we indemnify them.
No, and what I mean to say is that each township, let's say Batavia Township, shall indemnify and hold harmless Aurora Township for any and all claims, demands, and causes of action arising out of or connected with Batavia Township's actions pursuant to this agreement.
Okay. So you're telling them, right, that statement says Batavia's not gonna hold Aurora accountable. Do we need another statement after that saying the same thing for Aurora, not holding us accountable?
Yeah. That
Correct.
Make it more than clear, yeah. You know, each township shall indemnify the other, I suppose, is a little unclear.
Of any wrongdoing that they did on their part.
Right.
If you have both of them, if we said the same thing for both townships, I think we'd be in good shape.
Yeah, I agree. Does that work for you, Van?
It works for me.
All right, then I will move that we approve the intergovernmental agreement as amended, including the paragraph 3 amendment as amended.
Can you
Without
write
any
that?
changes?
Can you write that up for me? I
With-
mean, can you write what the language is?
Yeah.
So I can send it to Torma and to Aurora Township?
Yes, I can write that up. I can tell you right now, but I can write it up if you wish.
Please write it. I like words written up, just like minutes.
And you're saying as amended, given the words that you've just given?
Yes.
Correct.
That's what you said about that. Yes.
Okay, do we have a?
I'll second that.
We have a motion and a second. And why don't we have the clerk call the
Did
roll?
Janet make the motion?
Yeah,
Yes.
Donna made the motion and Mr. Sharp seconded it. And Mr. Donna is gonna provide me the words to interject.
And we're amending paragraph 3.
Yeah,
Paragraph 3 is an amendment, and we are amending that amendment. As I understand.
Amendment
To the-
paragraph 3 as amended. Okay. Janet,
Aye.
Sharp,
Yes?
Susanna,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Tracy.
yes. Next item on the agenda is the payments to social service agencies. There is a sheet which shows what we have paid to date, what was paid in 2021, 2022, and what we budgeted in 2022, 2023. The problem is that the Shelter Assistance Committee has disbanded. They've disbanded, they no longer exist. They can no longer get volunteers to do their work. So, we cannot provide them the $7,000 that we budgeted.
Which one was that again?
Shelter Assistance Committee, so there's no amount listed under 2022, 2023. So the bottom line is that we have spent $108,000 of $115,000 that was budgeted. So, there's a couple alternatives. We could figure out how to spend $7,000, or we could simply say that we have an unspent balance of $7,000, and we're only going to spend this year $108,000 of the $115,000 budgeted, and we'll end up at the end of the year with a surplus of $7,000.
I would note that there's got to be a $500 error in the 2022-23. Well, there's got to be an error in one of them. Because we subtract $7,500 from.
No, it's 7,000. The amount that was budgeted was 7, not 75. We budgeted, we paid in 2021, 2022, $7,500. We decided to pay $7,000 in 2022, 2023. That's what the letter said that went out to them. The message I got back is we can't accept that because we no longer exist. So what we might,
So if you look to spend it, do you have any recommendations on how that will be
Nope.
spent?
nope,
You know what, I mean, I would think everyone that's getting 5,000, let's give them another 1,000, and the two that are 7,000, let's give them 500 each. And that would be the 7,000, correct?
so we wanna give an additional amount,
So the Salvation Army and Senior Services Association give $500 each.
so that's $7,500,
Yeah.
$7,500.
And then the ones who are getting 5,000, there's 6 of them, give them 1,000 each.
So
And that would
six-
take care of the 7,000.
Six,
Forget the surplus.
six, 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 and six.
So, to the extent that exceeds,
So that's that 7,000 right there.
yeah, for example, suicide prevention services was 5,000, this year it's 5,000, we propose giving them another 1,000.
Yes,
Whereas Tri-City was 6, we cut them down to 5.
Tri-City. No. Oh, we cut them down to 5, but they'll be getting 6,000 again.
Yeah, so what we're said is that we want to give another $1,000 to Fox Valley Food for Health, which would get them to $6,000. We want to give another $1,000 to
Neutral
Ground, that would get them to $6,000. We want to give another $500 to the Salvation Army, which would get them to $7,500, and we want to give another $500 to Senior Services, which would get them to $7,500. And we want to give suicide prevention another $1,000, that would be 6. Tri-City Health Partnership, 6, and Valley Shelter West Side, 6. I don't know what, is that,
Yes, that sounds good. If it's,
I thought that's pretty quick thinking on your part, sir. I admire that.
Did you make a motion?
no.
Make it.
Well, I motion to give everyone that we're giving 5,000 to 6,000, and the ones who have 7,000, we give them extra 500.
very good.
I'll second the motion.
It's been moved by
Susana.
Tucson, seconded by West. Any other discussion? Well, let's have the clerk call the roll on that one.
Susanna,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Donnet,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes. Cool. All right, the next item on the agenda is the purchase of the township car. Let me tell you where we are. Resulting from the June meeting, in which you said, let's do a state bid, I investigated the state bid with Miles Chevrolet in Decatur and Murrow Brothers Ford in Greenfield. We carried on discussions during June and July. The upshot of it is they don't have any cars available. So, that, I'm in a pass, I'm dead in the water there. However, I have communicated with Jazz Chevrolet in Elburn, and they have a 2022 Chevrolet Equinox at $29,140. I've also talked to Valley Honda, and they have a 2023 Honda HR-V available, or if not available currently, may be available by December at $29,000. What I told these folks was I want to buy a car under $30,000 so I don't have to have a bid. So each of them came up with roughly $29,000. So my question at this point is, do we want to purchase either of these cars? I've also talked to the U.S. Bank, where we have checking accounts and a credit card. And the U.S. Bank will finance. I discover that just like I discovered the GMC Financial, there's no such thing for a township as a traditional lease. In other words, something that has residual value. You know, you in essence rent the car. Rather, this is a lease purchase agreement. So we can finance roughly $29,000 plus for 36 months at $162 a month. with US Bank, or 60 months, monthly at $540. We can do that with our present budget in the general fund by expending money in capital outlay and splitting the monthly payments between the general fund and the assessor's fund, so that in fiscal 2022-23, this current fiscal year, that would be approximately $270 a month. So over 7 months, which is the remainder of this fiscal year, that would be $1,900 on each budget. Now, if we purchase the car, and then we have to build the payments into the 2023-24 budget. So my point is, do you want to buy a car? Either a car from Jazz Chevrolet in Elburn or from Valley Honda in Aurora, financing the car over a 60 months with a roughly a payment of $540 a month.
Did you say that the payment on the first car was $160 a month?
Well, no, the payments, that I got quoted are over 60 months are $540 per month. And then my point would be, we do that within the budget of using the capital funds in the general fund budget and administrative funds in the general fund and assessor's fund, so that there would be an expenditure of about $270 per month. Or
For
over
each car, the costs are basically the same
yeah,
for each car.
yeah. So the real question is, do we want to get a car now or not?
I would kind of say sooner the better. I mean, if they're not going to have any cars for a while, I don't know, we might as well just go for it.
My point is that these cars are available now. We can finance them through US Bank. It will I think it will fit into the budget. Then, however, there's nothing in this current budget about Township Car. So in future budgets, we need to have a line item identifying that.
Right. And that's what we're planning to spend anyhow, like under 30, right? Correct?
Yeah, well, the point of spending under 30 is that you can now, according to state statute, avoid a competitive bid at spending less than $30,000. Now, I won't mention it, but another alternative is to forget the whole thing. Don't get a car.
We never got the information as to how much we spent in mileage over the past
Well, I
several
will,
years.
yeah, I figured it out for you, and I gave it to you. To make a long story short, we've spent a lot less reimbursing mileage than we would spend in buying a car. However, Tammy's argument is that she intends to hire someone in the assessor's office who would do field work, who would use this vehicle. But
Who does field work now?
who does field work now is the current people, and they don't do enough from her point of view.
And what do they use?
Their own cars, and we
And
reimburse
that's what
them.
we reimburse.
And it costs less than buying a car.
And when she hires this new person who does the field work, is that gonna cost more?
Well,
It should.
that would be wages. She currently has, she has hired a summer employee, a college student, to work. To be frankly, since she's not here, I can't answer as to how they're doing the field work. So it's, from my point of view, it's a little bit of an unanswered question, to be honest. I'm just wanting to proceed as directed by the trustees as to how to proceed.
I would offer that if you're paying somebody for the mileage that they're putting on their car, the amount that they get is an okay amount. Certainly, having the car sit on the parking lot for how much a year? Seven grand a year,
Yeah,
something
well,
like that.
my argument also is that this is not the assessor's car, this is the township car. It can be used for any township purpose.
And I don't know that that's
Well-
gonna be that much.
I don't know how much it is, we can take it to Springfield in
And-
November.
Well,
I-
that's
I-
one
I will-
trip.
I
mean, that's
I
not-
will drive it to St. Charles for supervisors meetings once a month. I will drive it to Geneva to go to the US Bank. I will.
You're not, to me, you're
That's
not
not
given
much.
very many trips to
Probably
justify
not.
having a whole new car. And
Probably.
maybe that's on purpose, I'm not sure. But I know historically also, because I talked to Ron about this, you guys had a car for the assessor, or for the township at one time, and he said it sat on the parking lot and rotted. And so, I don't see the justification in getting a car for the township, given, there's no regular routes that everybody has to make that's within the township, whether it's assessors or supervisor, yourself, or whoever. There's no big mileage anybody's putting on. Why would we add that expense of $30,000 taken out of the general fund in the assessor's office? It seems like a very big overkill for the amount of driving it's done. It's my thoughts.
At 55 cents a mile, there's 11,000 miles would be needed to be driven to make up for $6 grand, which is principal and interest for 5 years.
Yeah, you're not gonna do that. Not even close.
As I recall, that Taurus that we had out there that was X number of years old had like 15 or 16,000 miles
Yeah.
on it. And it was, it would cost $3 or $4 grand because everything rusted underneath.
Yeah.
It was, had very low mileage, but it was like 8 or 9 years old. So there, you know, maybe even a little more, but if it's 8 years old, that's my recollection.
It's true.
So how much do you give per mile?
55.
Whatever the IRS allows.
I just put 55 cents down. I think that's
We have a-
about
we-
the going rate.
We have a,
I'm gonna make a motion to table the car until next fiscal year, and before that happens, somebody, whoever wants the car, comes in with all the information and everything and all the reasoning as to why they wanna be it.
is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, so the motion is to table the purchase of a township car until the next fiscal year.
And given justifications
Yeah.
and descriptions associated with it.
You got it? Clerk?
That does make more sense this way.
All righty. So let's have the clerk call the roll on that motion.
Okay, West,
Yes.
Dominic,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Jusana,
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes. All righty, moving along to new business. There, I think as a result of the last meeting, there was a request to talk about the mental health levy and budget. Let me explain the process. There is a levy for mental health passed by the Batavia 708 board each year. Then that levy is given to me and is based into the levy and budget, which are passed by the township board and filed with the county clerk. The levy for this current fiscal year was passed, you voted on it, on December 14th, 2021. It was built into the budget, the same figure, into the budget passed by this board on March 8th, 2022. The fiscal year 2022-2023 amount for mental health is $417,713. What we're doing, the same thing we've done for several years, is to pay that in installments, since we don't get all the property tax all in 1 month. And so in the bills for payment, we're going to pay the $417,713, which is the levied amount and the budget amount, to the Inc. Board, which is now, their name has changed, to the Inc. Mental Health Alliance. And so that's how the process works. Anybody have any questions about how it works? The levy is passed by the Batavia 708 Township Board. That is passed on to me and built into the levy passed by this board, and the same amount passed by the budget passed by this board. That amount for this fiscal year is $417,713. Anything else? So there's nothing we really have to do other than you have approved the payment of that amount over 3 installments. Next item on the agenda, unless there's further questions about the mental health stuff. I thought it was important to report on general assistance year to date. We are currently processing general assistance applications through Aurora Township and through the caseworker there, Sue Cabral. I have met with her and also the Aurora supervisor. We're on the same page. From June 21st through today, we've had 15 inquiries. It's a pretty heavy load, actually. Of those 15 inquiries, we have one current general assistance case. And so you've just authorized the payment to Aurora Township of payments on that case plus one which was denied at a cost to us of $1,432.
We pay Aurora for inquiries as well,
No,
just in case it becomes a bona fide case?
they don't pay them until we send them an application. And if I determine here that they don't qualify, we don't send it. So far, we have not had general assistance. So, anybody who applies for aid who has dependents under the age of 18 don't qualify for general assistance. That eliminates a large share of it. Okay, I have it's entirely up to the township supervisor. I have restored emergency assistance. There are sheets in there on our payments for emergency assistance. What I've done is to take Aurora's, so that what this in essence says that for a family of one, the income standard, they have to be below gross pay for 30 days of $2,176, and if so, they can get a maximum disbursement of $1,000. Generally with emergency assistance, it's only for rental assistance or utility assistance, and it's only given once in a 12-month period.
Didn't you say that rental assistance can happen every month?
Yes, with general assistance, not emergency assistance. So there's another sheet for general assistance, which is the sheet showing whatever it shows.
And then she go.
There it is, payment levels, general assistance.
If I got it.
For rent, we can pay up to $816 for rent and utilities. In essence, the most we can pay per month is $816 under general assistance.
Just like that in the front.
Is that set by statute?
No, we said it. So what I simply took was what it's actually determined by the supervisor. And I took, in both cases, I took Aurora's amounts. Which altered ours a little bit.
So is this the one that was capped at 750 before?
Yeah. Well, actually, the general, emergency assistance was kept at 750, then I increased this to 1,000 in 2021. And it's now back up to $1,000.
Was this something that we had voted on back in?
No, you don't vote on it. It's entirely up to the supervisor.
It seemed like we voted on some cap somewhere along the line. I'm not
Well,
sure now, but
You can vote on it if you want to, but technically speaking, emergency assistance is totally statutorily determined by the supervisor. To have it or not have it, and what the amounts are.
Geez, what can they can't even pay their rent for $1,000?
I know.
Let alone eat.
I know. It's,
Jesus, man, they're getting 2,000 plus for rentals on these homes today.
yeah, that's why, only, there's a few places, that's why the only places in Batavia that really work are the Batavia apartments and Aurora. And Batavia apartments particularly because it's subsidized. So, it's possible, depending on what their income is, I don't know how that they determine it, but it's possible that their rents are very low, if they have very low income.
Wow. All right, so is there some action, or is this just
You
a
don't have-
description for us?
This is just description.
Okay.
That's where we are. With regard to general assistance, I do know where we are with general assistance in terms of the budget. I know where we are with mental health. So you have this thing, this report, which is the old way of reporting our expenditures, so that by the end of the fiscal year, we will have spent the entire budgeted amount of $417,713 by paying out in August, September, and October by a third in each month. Then we will have provided the Inc. Mental Health Alliance everything that they have coming to them. General assistance is this thing, and the problem with general assistance is that I didn't budget correctly. We paid $2,360 in June for catastrophic insurance. This is the insurance that we buy in case we have a huge general assistance claim. You know, somebody is on general assistance and they have terminal illness or something, and so that we have a huge claim. But the premium is annually $2,360. So it got put in administrative expenditures. However, we only have $1,000 budgeted. So what I'm asking you to do is to transfer a total of $1,860 to administrative expenditures, which would leave us then with an unspent balance of $500. And we're transferring from general assistance $1,000, and then from emergency assistance $860. We have had some expenditures so far in April, May, and June in emergency assistance, and now we will have some in general assistance, but we're not going to be over what's budgeted, at least at this point. So we need a transfer, and we can transfer up to 10% of a line item. So what I'm suggesting is that I'd like a motion to transfer $1,000 from the general assistance line item and $860 from the emergency assistance line item for a total transfer in to administrative expenditures of $1,860, so that we don't have a deficit. Does that make sense?
Yep. Makes sense to me, so moved.
Okay, so it's moved by Donnet and seconded by West.
Oh,
Okay? Any other discussion?
yeah, I have one thing.
Okay.
Our total expenses budgeted are 21 grand. So if we go up to 21 grand, that's it, we can't help anymore, right?
No. We have to do general assistance by statute, so if we don't have it in the general assistance fund, it has to come out of the general fund.
Okay, and the second part of that is we've never spent the budget.
Well, not for a long time that I know of.
Okay, that's all.
This emergency assistance, does that fall under what Aurora Township is gonna be doing in the future?
Yeah, they're gonna do both general assistance and emergency assistance. Yep,
How many cases was the 2,900 in May and the?
I don't remember, I did them myself. There wasn't Aurora Township, I did them all by myself, or maybe with Layla's. No, if it was in May and June, I did them all by myself.
You don't remember how many cases we're talking about?
Not right now.
Not over 10.
No, probably not more than 2 or 3. Because what happens is that most of those were utility assistance. So, the most we can give is $1,000, so it couldn't have been more than 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 altogether.
Less than 7.
Less than 7. I mean, I could dig out the information.
No, not necessarily, I'm just wondering.
So the case inquiries, before then, you did those, is that correct?
I still do them.
You still do them?
Well, actually, I do them, and now Jennifer Tracy is doing them. But in essence, I do them. So when somebody calls, they say, hey, I got this problem, they're gonna cut off my electricity, I can't pay my rent. And so I take the information and say, and now what I say is, we have to have you complete an application. Why don't you can come into the office and do that, and I'll help you fill it out, then we'll send it to Aurora for administration. The reason being that the general assistance and emergency assistance handbooks are like 500 pages each. And I don't want to be responsible for that, frankly. So that's why we really need somebody who's experienced in doing general assistance, and then experienced in processing the forms and sending out the information to people.
Call roll.
Yeah, so can we call the roll on that motion to transfer funds within the general assistance budget?
Donnet,
Aye.
Sharp,
Aye.
Tucson,
Aye.
West,
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes. Let me just briefly tell you what we are doing temporarily. Well, actually, this really involves informing you all about what is current with our with Layla Brown. Now you have a choice. If you think it's necessary to adjourn to executive session, we can do that. From my point of view, it's only information. We don't need to make any decisions. But if you want to adjourn to executive session, we can do that.
I think we got to adjourn to executive session.
I agree, you may cross, yeah, I would adjourn, and you may cross
Privacy
HIPAA
issues
stuff
probably.
too.
Okay,
Yeah, I'll go along with that too.
okay, do we have a motion to adjourn to executive session for the purpose of discussing personnel?
So moved.
I second.
Clerk, call the roll.
Donnet,
Aye.
Sharp,
Agree?
Chisana,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes, so we are now in executive session, and I will ask that BATV turn off the recording. Okay? Let's have the clerk call the roll on closing executive session and returning.
Okay, so the motion is
Is to adjourn from executive session. A return to regular session from executive session.
Okay, hold on. Okay, I'm sorry, who made the motion?
Me, John.
West?
Yes.
And,
Done.
okay, Okay, West,
Yes.
Donnet,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Chisana,
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes, so BATV, you can turn back on.
Sorry for the misunderstanding.
Yeah. Next item on the agenda, what I wanted to do was to have we've done this, I think, in the past, but I'd like to have it just for the record, that we approve the ACH withdrawals, those are automatic withdrawals from the checking account on a monthly basis, and regular credit card charges for the rest of the current fiscal year. So it could be two motions, what I'm going to suggest. A motion to approve the payment of monthly general fund withdrawals in an amount not to exceed $26,000, and regular general fund credit card charges not to exceed $175 the remainder of the 2022-2023 fiscal year.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion? Let's have the clerk call the roll.
Okay, it was Donnet, Chisana,
West.
West.
West. Your voice sounds like thunder. West.
That's because we went really late.
They both have
Okay.
profound baritone voices.
West,
Yes.
Donnet,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Chisana,
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes. And then I'd like to have another motion to approve the payment of monthly road fund withdrawals in an amount not to exceed $7,000 for the remainder of the 2022-2023 fiscal year.
And you got these figures by seeing
There-
what they spend on.
Yeah, it's
monthly basis?
somewhere, it's in a something that I did. It shows,
That's pretty much the average
yeah,
then. Yeah.
there they are.
I'll second
It's
the
on,
motion.
it's on this sheet. There's a sheet called ACH electronic withdrawals and regular monthly credit card charges. We're now, to approve the road fund amount, which generally are $6,952, and I'm saying not to exceed $7,000. So is there a motion?
So move.
Second.
Seconded. Any other discussion? Clerk will call the roll.
Chisana,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Donnet,
Yes.
Sharp,
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes. And then, and you notice them in this month, what we've identified as bills that we have paid prior to the meeting in order to avoid late payment penalties. So that when a bill is due for payment prior to the meeting, we're gonna pay it anyway, and then, included amongst those things that are approved. So I want a motion to authorize the township supervisor to pay bills prior to a township meeting and trustee approval in cases where payment will avoid late payment penalties.
So moved.
I'll second it.
Okay, any other discussion? Or call the roll on that one.
Sharp,
Yes.
Chisana,
Yes.
West,
Yes.
Donnet,
Yes.
Tracy.
Yes. The only other items that I have on the agenda are there is the so-called Senate Bill 3789, which was signed by the governor and is now public law 102-1088, which it's an interesting bill. It says that township governments, all units of local government outside of counties and municipalities, so it includes library districts, park districts, school districts, all of the units of local government, must by June 10 and every 10 years thereafter form a committee to study the following: local efficiencies, analyze consolidation of local government, create a report, and then it sets up what this committee is supposed to be, how it's supposed to be made. It's an interesting piece of legislation, and we'll hear more about it. I've heard, a session by TOI, and there's another one if you'd like to attend, a Zoom meeting on August 12th, which is Friday, to talk about Senate Bill 3789 revisited.
Do we have to make a report to prove that there's enough work going on here that we can?
Yeah, what in essence, this is sort of the answer to township consolidation and township abolishment and all that stuff. From TOI's perspective, it sort of buys time. It kills off that temporarily by setting up this process. From my point of view, it's a kind of an opportunity, if we want to do it, and there's a possibility of joining other townships in Kane County in doing this, to, along with help if we wanted to from outside agencies, to study the efficiencies of the township. I just want to make you aware of that. We have to appoint the committee. The odd thing about the piece of the public law and the legislation is there are no penalties. So if you don't do it, there's no penalty. It's a very odd piece of legislation. But I'm just bringing that to your attention. And the only other item is Kane County Township's dinner at Lincoln Inn will be Wednesday, October 26th. So I'm hoping as many of you can attend as possible. At some point, I'll ask you to let me know so that we can make our payment and make reservations.
What time?
I assume it's 6 o'clock, 5:30 usually is.
You can count the west end.
You can count the Tucson as in too.
Yeah.
Two.
You can, yeah. So I'll count you in, and then I'll confirm all that as to how many people we can. It's interesting. I encourage you to do this. We've usually had a pretty good attendance.
Can we get an open bar?
Yeah. There's food. It's an open bar.
That's not gonna help me.
Do you know who the big speaker's gonna be for this?
We haven't got one yet. You want to serve on a committee
I'm
to pick a
sharp.
speaker?
Yeah.
Be a speaker.
I'll be an auctioneer for a site auction.
I'm just bringing that
Sure,
to your
we'll do it.
attention, and we'll have more. The other thing I wanted to mention is the TOI conference in Springfield is going to take place in person, November 13th through the 15th. I have already made reservations because we could do it more cheaply before August 1st.
Thank you.
For all of the elected officials, Lee Tracy, Penny Tracy, Chris Long, Tammy Kavanaugh, and Riley Kavanaugh included her, and the four trustees. We've made reservations. I've also made hotel reservations now, so that if you want to bring somebody else, a spouse, this hotel has 2 beds.
There you go.
And we don't pay anything more if we bring somebody else or somebody off the street. No, we're recording, so.
Come on, Jimmy.
All right, we'll plan on a TOI convention. If you're not going to go, let me know, and we can cancel the reservations and we can cancel the hotel. You can't have your own room. Buses. You want to stay with John West? No. Never mind.
No.
We are due to go to Hawaii the next week.
Cool. So,
Every
You'll
quarter.
be ready for it.
the only other item on the agenda is, do we have any trustee reports?
Not for me.
Not for me, thank you.
Good. The next Batavia Township meeting will be Tuesday, September the 13th. That being the case, is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make a motion to adjourn tonight's meeting.
Thank you. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor of adjournment, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? No opposed. We are adjourned.
Thank you, BATV and public.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, BATV. Thank you, Mr. Larson.